Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we are doing a guide on Venice. Yes, a lot of people wanted to see a Venice or a Merchant Republic guide, so we are going to play some Venice today. Venice has a unique government type. It's a type of Merchant Republic government with a couple of major differences. And if you have never played as a Merchant Republic, let's quickly take a look at what it is. Nations with Merchant Republic government get +1 merchant and -50 absolutism. Instead of estates, they have 3 factions, each of which give certain bonuses when they are in power. They also have elections, and the ruler is elected for a certain period of time. When playing Venice, there are 2 important mechanics that you need to keep in mind. One, as a Merchant Republic, if you have more than 20 stated provinces, that's 20 provinces in your states, you get malus to yearly Republican tradition, which goes as -0.1 yearly Republican tradition for each stated province over 20. So republics usually get +1 base Republican tradition every year. If you have, say, 30 provinces in your states, you will earn 0 Republican tradition yearly, which is a pretty significant detail to remember. Now, Republican tradition can also be earned with power projection, trading in Chinaware, some religions, and plutocratic economic policy. But still, there is a pretty hard cap on how many provinces you can have in a state. So if you intend on conquering a lot of provinces, you won't be able to state them all, as that will tank your Republican tradition rather quickly. And if you don't state the provinces, they have a base 75% local autonomy floor, which means they aren't giving you enough tax, production, trade power, manpower, and all that. So it becomes kind of hard to sustain a huge empire. Second important thing you need to remember is that you get 50% trade power from your vassals, marches, and client states, which you don't usually get from other government types. And 50% trade power can be a lot if you have bigger subjects. Merchant republics can also form trade leagues, which are basically defensive leagues, where everyone in the league will transfer 50% trade power to the league leader. And as a league leader, you will also get bonus to trade steering. Let me step back here and say, since we are talking about merchant republics in this video, I will be using some terms related to trade mechanics in game. And if you are a beginner EU4 player, or if you're unsure what things like transferring trade power and trade steering mean, I will refer you to my trade basics guide. It basically has everything you need to know on trade, and I'll leave a link to that video in description. Getting back to the merchant republics mechanic, they can also create trade cities, which are basically useless, and we really won't get into that. And as a merchant republic, you can also create trading posts in a province you own, which gives extra trade power, but they're limited to only 1 per trade node outside of your home node. You also get bonuses to goods produced modifier, which is proportional to the trade power in that particular node. That is a passive bonus, so you don't need to worry about it, but it does make a significant difference in the economy, as goods produced modifier is a pretty strong modifier. And that's really the basics of merchant republics. Now, Venetian government type has all the features of a merchant republic that we just discussed, with one major difference. And that is that instead of periodic elections, we elect a ruler that rules for life. And the elections are lottery elections where you get choice from 3 candidates, each belonging to one of the 3 factions. You can choose any candidate, and that will cost 25 Republican tradition, which is a fair amount. You also get an option to pick one randomly, which does not cost any Republican tradition. And I would advise to just pick randomly more often, unless you see a crazy good ruler like a 655 stats or something. The problem with picking a candidate each time is that most likely they will be old and won't last longer than, say, 15 or 20 years at most. And since you're making only about 1.2 Republican tradition every year at best, it's not feasible to spend 25 Republican tradition for every election. Venice also gets -0.1 corruption with this government. Historically, the Venetian election system was supposed to minimize electoral corruption, and that's what's portrayed here. This government type is called a Serene Republic, which is a pretty nice name, and the ruler is referred to as Doge. Now, if we take a look at the Merchant Republic mechanics, it's clear that they are meant to be played tall. I mean, the 20 provinces and states restriction, the -50 absolutism, and the trade power bonuses to all subjects all point to a certain playstyle. So fair warning here, if you are looking to conquer a lot of provinces playing as Venice, you will have to make a lot of vassals, marches, and later in game client states. Alternatively, you could colonize and have colonial nations and trade companies, which is also a great way to expand. Although all those things mean that the first 150 to 200 years are going to be slower than usual. I think Venice is still a fun nation to play because it gives you a new challenge and you need to play in a different playstyle. But if you're looking to conquer everyone as Venice, you will have to switch out of the government type and revert to some sort of monarchy. You can do this by tanking the Republican tradition. It leads to some events that will let you change into a dictatorship and eventually monarchy. So if playing tall does not appeal to you and you're wondering if playing as Venice is worth it, let me introduce you to an achievement, and that's the Venetian Sea Achievement, where you need to have 75% trade power in both Venice and Alexandria trade node and have less than 10 provinces, which is really interesting. And it's what we will be aiming for in this video. It sort of synergizes with normal Venice gameplay right before the end, and we'll see when we come to it. Before we go through my Venice run, I want to state one change I'm looking to make to my videos, and that will be including a pop-up for DLCs required when I'm talking about certain game mechanics, such as the Trade League and Trade Cities mechanic is only available with Mare Nostrum DLC. I get these questions about DLCs every video, and I understand not everyone has all DLCs, so I will try to incorporate that information in the video as well. I might miss some, and for which I apologize in advance, but you can still ask about it in comments and either me or someone else will get to you eventually. We have a very helpful community here. With all that said, let's dive right into the Venice playthrough and see how I got the Venetian Sea Achievement in 90 years. At the start of the game, setting up rivals and allies will depend on the start, as that's somewhat randomized. Ideally, we want Austria as an ally, as they are a powerful neighbor and we are not really looking to expand there. The second ally is either Castile or France, whoever is rival to Aragon, because we do want to take some Naples provinces if we get a chance. Typically, it's not that hard to get strong allies at the start, as Venice is fairly big itself and you should be able to ally two of Austria, Castile, France and Poland. In my game, I allied Austria and Castile, and I rivaled Aragon, Ottomans and Byzantium. At the start of the game, we also have two vassals in Corfu and Naxos, and we are guaranteeing Albania and the Knights. What I like to do is revoke both guarantees, then call in Knights to my trade league. I also call Lucca, Siena and Mantua to the trade league, and a couple of one province miners in HRE who are allied to Austria. After this, I revoked Albania's guarantee early to see if Ottomans would attack them. I had my army ready, so if the Ottomans did attack them, I would attack Albania too, siege down their one province and vassalize them, which would mean we are now in a defensive war against Ottomans and we can call in our big allies and beat up Ottomans early. At least that was the plan. But after waiting for over a year, AI Ottomans did not attack Albania, so I switched to plan B, and that was to attack Byzantium. So that's what I did in 1446. They were only allied to Wallachia, so the war wasn't going to be hard. I went straight for their capital and fairly soon I had them sieged down. Now I was hoping again that while at war, Ottomans would declare on Byzantium too, and then I could vassalize them and call in my allies against Ottomans, same strategy as before. But Ottomans never attacked. I waited for 2 whole years. Instead, they went to attack some minor Turkish beyliks. And that's just RNG. It's very likely that in your game, Ottomans will attack Byzantium too, and then you can beat up Ottomans really early with the help of your allies. But in my game, it wasn't meant to be. Oh well. So I vassalized Byzantium and took Athens for myself. By the way, all this time, keep making galleys and go above naval force limit. They don't cost much and Venice has a very healthy economy. A rival slot opened up right after this war, so I rivaled Mamluks next because they are the dominant nation in Alexandria node, which we need to take over for the Venetian Sea Achievement. In 1450, my old ruler finally died and we had the first elections. We had an option between 630, 033 and a 006 ruler. Not the best choices, but I just decided to roll the dice and let the lottery decide. And I got the 630 ruler, which isn't the worst. All this time I was still building ships when I could, mostly galleys, and as you see here, I'm well above naval force limit, and that might seem like a bad idea, but I'm only paying 2 ducats penalty for it, which is nothing for Venice. It's very important to get naval dominance in the Mediterranean, and it's not that hard as Venice because AI will never go above force limit while we can do that. I wanted to fight Mamluks early, so I fabricated a claim on Cyprus, who are guaranteed by Mamluks at the start. In my game, I would only fight Cyprus and Mamluks, although sometimes Cyprus may join a trade league, but since we've already picked up most of the one province miners in the neighborhood for our trade league, the other trade leagues aren't as strong. So I declared the war on Cyprus. The plan was to siege down Cyprus and keep my big fleet on the lookout for Mamluks navy. The goal of this war is to cut down Mamluks navy and take some money from them if possible. Mamluks army on the other hand is significantly bigger than ours right now. So what I did was I would siege down a couple of provinces on one side, then pick the army up with my fleet and transport them to the other side and siege down provinces there. Although I couldn't get anything from Mamluks in this war. But it was okay, as I had utterly destroyed their navy. After that I white-pieced Mamluks and full annexed Cyprus in 1455. Next I decided to attack Albania, who were allied to the Knights and guaranteed by Serbia. This was also a reconquest war as we have a core in Albania. I was still hoping Ottomans would attack Albania, but they seemed to be more interested in fighting other Turkish beyliks once more. So I took the coastal province from Serbia and full annexed Albania. I have been above relation limits since taking Byzantium as a vassal, so next I started annexing Naxos. By the way, here you can time annexing Naxos and Corfu so they finish at the same time and you don't have to take the Diplo rep penalty twice. I should have done that, but honestly I totally forgot about it because I was trying to figure out how to deal with Ottomans as they just won't take my bait. Finally in 1461 I saw that they were attacking someone in Anatolia again. They were fighting Karaman, AQ and Crimea. I decided to take this opportunity and declare on Ottomans myself. My allies were not ready to join in yet. Fortunately though, Ottomans ally Morocco would not join in either. The strategy for this war is simple. We have the naval dominance, so it's all about blocking the strait, which means we need to siege down Edirne as soon as possible. I used the naval barrage here to speed things up. If Ottomans' army decided to abandon their other war and head over here, I won't be able to fight them and the war would have gone on much longer. But luckily their army didn't, and I managed to siege down Edirne. Now I could siege down rest of Balkans easily. Mind you, I was still making more ships and now paying 5 ducats penalty for going over force limit, which is a lot, but again, having naval dominance in Mediterranean is the key to a successful Venice run. I decided to take only 3 provinces from this war. The reason was that these provinces would go to Byzantium as they have cores on them, and I didn't want my vassal to become too strong as that might mean some serious loyalty issues. So I took some money from Ottomans and just these provinces. Byzantium still became disloyal after getting those provinces, so I designated them as a march. I had no intention of annexing them anyways, and remember, as Merchant Republic we get 50% of their trade power even if they are a march. And you can actually check that in the trade notes screen if you're curious. It says here we receive trade power from Byzantium, Corfu as they are our vassals, and the Knights because they are in the trade league. Next I decided to use the Ottoman money to build a flagship with the perks of extra trade power, fleet engagement with, and fleet blockade impact on siege. Let's look at the big picture here. Neutralizing Ottomans is important because they are a big threat and we have effectively neutralized them now. It's also important to secure the trade power in our home trade node. The problem is that most nations in there are still part of the empire and we really don't want to fight the emperor yet. So our targets are fairly limited at this point. We will have to come back in 1490 when the Shadow Kingdom fires and North Italian nations are no longer in HRE. However, both Papal State and Naples have a lot of provinces in the Venice trade node as well, and they are not part of the HRE. I have been building spy networks on both of them and I had claims on them. Papal State had France as their ally and Naples had Aragon as their overlord, so I needed at least one of my allies to fight with me. But both Austria and Castile were refusing to join the war at this point. Finally, in 1465, I got lucky when I saw that France would not answer the call, so I declared on Papal State right away. Their only ally was Utrecht. They might have more allies in your game, but it's all about keeping an eye out for opportunities to attack your targets. So as you can imagine, this war was super easy, and I took the 3 coastal provinces from Papal State. The aggressive expansion wasn't that bad yet. And finally, we are a great power in 1466. This is a good time to touch on factions a bit. We have 3 factions, the aristocrats, traders, and guilds. Their influence changes when we elect a particular ruler. Their influence also goes up and down depending on army tradition, war exhaustion, naval tradition, and overextension. And you will also get a lot of events related to factions which changes their influence. And you can spend military points to boost influence too. And when factions are in power, they give certain bonuses. You can read all about it from this screen. However, to be honest, I don't really care about them too much. I never boost a certain faction, and from events I usually just take whichever option gives me better modifiers. So I'm not going to get deep into factions mechanic. Just one thing to keep in mind is that to make sure no faction goes over 80% influence, as that leads to some bad events like this one. It's always painful losing stability. Getting back to our playthrough, after the war with Papal State, I had to recover my manpower for a while, so I was basically not doing anything. Until 1472, when I noticed that Mamluks had attacked Kara. I have been meaning to attack Mamluks for a while now, but I couldn't fight their army head on, so this was a great opportunity. They only had 3 minor allies, and they had a lot of troops, but I was hoping to siege down the war goal and some more provinces before Mamluks and allies could get their armies to me. I actually managed to siege down the fort in Alexandria quickly and then their capital in 1474, which meant I had a lot of war score. So I took these 3 provinces from them and some money. My plan was to get a foothold in that area to make future attacks easier, and I wanted to take the province of Sirte here so I could release Tripoli. It's important to get another vassal here so we can give them some non-essential provinces when we need to. I kept the province of Benghazi for myself for now, as it's a trade center. Next I attacked Serbia because, well, I didn't have anything else to do, and Shadow Kingdom was still 8 years away. They were guaranteed by Hungary, so it was time to fight them as well. In this war I just went for Hungary's forts first and pieced them out for some money, then I full annexed Serbia. And after coring and stating them, I got the large Merchant Republic notification. So now we had more than 20 provinces in state, and because of going 2 above that limit, we have a minus 0.2 modifier to Republican tradition. I fixed it for now by unstating one of the smaller states that wasn't giving me much anyways. During this time I was severely lacking manpower, despite having many mercs, so it was time to lay low again while waiting for the Shadow Kingdom event to fire. I was getting claims on everyone around me, ready to attack at the right moment. The Shadow Kingdom event fired in January 1490. And right after that, I attacked Florence, who was excommunicated, which means I would only take 50% aggressive expansion from it. It's important to manage AE here, as Italian provinces have a lot of development. Florence had a few allies, but I had enough money to just spam mercs and fight everyone. I pieced out Milan for some money and war reps, then I full annexed Ferrara even though I did not co-belligerent them. And then I full annexed Florence. The aggressive expansion was still okay. During this war, the Iberian wedding fired and Naples became a junior partner of Castile, which is unfortunate, as I wanted to take some provinces from them. Also, I saw Grenadian separatists walking through my provinces, which is weird. I've seen this happen in the current patch though. These separatists tried to go to the Maghreb region by walking all around the Mediterranean Sea. They ended up fighting the Austrian troops, and this would actually happen again in 8 years. Poor Austria. Next I saw that Poland had attacked Ottomans, and I didn't want to give Poland provinces there, especially since Byzantium still had some courts on Ottomans, so I attacked Ottomans immediately. They were now allied to Tunis though, which meant I had to protect my vassal Tripoli. So I seized down most of the Ottoman Balkans and then went to Africa to take care of Tunis. AI Ottomans was actually playing really well in my game though, and they decided to hire Condottieri from Hungary, who managed to unsiege most of the Balkans while I was busy with Tunis. From Tunis, I got some Tripoli courts back, but before I could go and siege down Byzantium court provinces again, Poland decided to take exactly those provinces, which was annoying. And if this was a proper expansionist run, Poland would pay for it later. But I kept my focus towards the Venetian Sea Achievement and just took a couple of provinces from Ottomans and all their money. I wanted the money to upgrade the centers of trade I own to get more trade power in the nodes. So this is Venice and its subjects in 1499. It might not look like much, but the Venetian economy was already looking really strong. Next I decided to attack Mamluks again. It was time to get more trade power in Alexandria. This time I was stronger, so I just sieged down everything I could, and in just 2 years I ended the war by taking the Delta region, which is very rich with a lot of trade power. Since I was switching my conquests between the Muslim world and Europe, the AE wasn't a problem at all. So next I declared on Milan, since they had some provinces in the Venice trade node. They only had some minor allies, and after a quick war I took the provinces of Milan and Cremona. These provinces have very high development, and just 2 provinces would cost me 54% overextension. I wanted to attack Ottomans again, but they were allied to Tunis, who was fairly big at this point, and Timurids, who I couldn't see and did not know if they would be a problem or not. Honestly, I didn't have to attack Ottomans, as they don't have any trade power in Venice or Alexandria node, but I didn't have anything else to do, so why not? So I declared on Tunis instead, which would call on Ottomans to war. I took a couple of provinces from Ottomans and returned some courts from Tunis to Tripoli. My next war would be against Mamluks once more in 1519. In the intervening period, Castile called me to a war which we won easily. Reformation spawned in 1515 in Ravensburg, and Napoli had some pretender rebels who actually enforced demands, and so Napoli was not a subject of Castile anymore, which meant I could attack them at some point. Although we already had enough trade power in Venice trade node. The war against Mamluks was again super easy. It lasted 3 years, and this time I took their capital of Cairo, which is a huge province, and some more surrounding provinces. Meanwhile, Ottomans were having a tough game. They were at war with Hungary, Austria, Bosnia, Mamluks, and Emirati. Yeah, they're not looking good. After this, I started spamming out light ships to get more trade power in Alexandria trade node. In the meantime, I got called into a war by Austria, then I attacked Mantua and took their province, humiliating Savoy in the process. Reformation branched out in 1531, and I was debating whether to go reformed or not. Right after that, Pope decided to excommunicate me, so that made the decision easier and I switched to reformed. Reformed gives bonus to global trade power, which is nice when going for Venetian Sea Achievement. The prestige drops -100 when you first convert though, which means loss of global trade power there, but eventually it will come back. And so after making a lot of light ships, finally in 1535 I had 75% trade power in Alexandria. And I already had 90+% trade power in Venice for some time now. So all that's left to do is have less than 10 provinces to get the Venetian Sea Achievement. And this is the time when you have to decide if you want to play as Venice further or not. Because if you do want to play further, I would advise you save the game and make a copy of that save file. If you don't want to play the game further and just want to get the Venetian Sea Achievement, all you need to do is give away all the provinces to vassals and just keep 9 provinces for yourself. In my game, I released Serbia, Florence, Mantua, Ferrara, and gave other provinces to Tripoli and Byzantium. Then all you need to do is enable divert trade, which means you get all the trade power from these provinces and still own less than 10 provinces yourself, satisfying the achievement criteria. The reason it's unsustainable playing after this is because you will be losing a lot of money and all the vassals will be disloyal. So if you want to keep playing Venice, firstly revert back to that older save, and you can start developing your own provinces using monarch points. You can also take exploration ideas or just know CB and African minor and start taking land in the trade company areas. That is an excellent way to expand further. Talking about ideas, I always start with plutocratic ideas when playing republics. They are just too good and really tailor made for republics. After that, influence is a must as you will be playing a vassal heavy game. And after that, you could go humanist, then trade or diplo, or just go exploration if you're looking to play a long expansionist game. Venice is a really good nation to play tall. You already start in an end trade node, and just playing organically, you will be earning a ton of money. And if you don't enjoy playing tall, you can just play for Venetian Sea Achievement. Taking on both Ottomans and Mamluks that early in game is a good challenge. Alternatively, if you are a newer player and don't want to attack Ottomans early, you could just join the HRE. For this, you'll need to ally Austria at the start and keep improving relations with them. Then eventually you can click this button and join the empire. However, you will become a duchy, which means losing some perks that you get as a kingdom. And you also cannot be an emperor if you remain a republic. But joining the HRE gives good defensive bonuses, and you can take your time building up slowly and eventually taking on bigger nations. And that was a short guide on playing Venice and the Venetian Sea Achievement. I hope that helps some people get a better understanding of playing as a merchant republic and how to get the Venetian Sea Achievement. Let us know in comments if you have another cool strategy on playing as Venice or how your game went. You are watching a Radio Risk Guide. Thanks for your time, and I'll see you all in the next one.